What is up, fight fans? Welcome back to another episode of the MMAnomaly Show, No Filter. This time we have a new special guest. We got Ian Juice Miller on the show today. Ian?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Welcome. So in this episode, we are going to be going over the, honestly, much better than expected fight card in UFC Las Vegas that we watched yesterday. The top of my little notes paper here says a night of extremely high highs and extremely low lows. And I think that pretty much sums it up in a nutshell, right? We had arguably some of the better performances, maybe even best performances for some of these people, a la Ariana Lipski, Merab Dvalishvili, and arguably some of the worst performances for some of these other people. Cedric Dumas, JJ Aldrich, the list goes on, right? But again, highest of highs, lowest of lows when it came to this card. The first thing that I want to go ahead and get out of the way, we got to address the elephant in the room and go over the Kinda Okay Parlay and just how bad it flopped. MMAnomaly presents the Kinda Okay Parlay. So the Kinda Okay Parlay was as follows. We had Said Nurmagomedov minus 240 money line. We had Alexander Romanov minus 155 money line. And then we had your boy picking a dog at plus odds, 210, plus 210 here. Merab Dvalishvili. That's my pick. That's me. I let us down the last few weeks. It was the one pick that held true this time. It was the one pick that hit. And I'm not mad at it. I knew Merab was going to go out there and do the thing. And my God, I think I didn't really expect him to do it better than I had laid out in the previous episode. And I said he was going to go out there and probably do exactly what he did in his last 4 or 5 fights to higher extent. But before we jump into the main card, again, sorry we let you guys down. I do want to shout myself out. Again, I did end up hitting a pretty good one. I ended up hitting 2 dogs here, Ariana Lipski, and I bet against Said Nurmagomedov. And, we turned 5 into 62. So definitely make sure you follow along. We got the guy in here, the Blackato, a.k.a. Arthur, a.k.a. Big Black, my guy. Where's my invite to the show? Bro, you let me know. All you need is some headphones. That way I don't hear myself echoing, and we'll get you on, brother. Let's go. Pick a fight night. Pick a fight card. And I'm glad to see you finally made it to a live. So before we jump into the main fights and kind of our what's next segment, Jared Gooden versus Carlston Harris. I'll lead the boat on this, and then I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how this fight went. This one was interesting to me because Jared Gooden literally fought his way back into the UFC. The man got cut from the UFC, which is always heartbreaking, right? It's hard to hear. It's hard to see. Speaking of hard to hear, going to go and throw in some background music, set the mood here for you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, Jared Gooden fought his way back, right? He went 4-1 outside of the UFC to fight his way back into the UFC after being cut by the promotion. And he went against Carlston Harris, who has, quite frankly, had a decent run in the UFC. He was 2-1 before this. He now moves to 3-1 in the UFC, with his only loss inside of the promotion coming to Shavkat Rakhmonov. That's nothing to hang your head over, if you ask me. What do you think? Do you think Jared Gooden gets another shot in the UFC? Were you impressed by his performance at all?
So, honestly, I think he, it was what it was, but I actually was watching the card. He fought on 3 weeks ago. He fought only 3 weeks ago, and I was watching the card because I had friends on it. It's called United Fight League. It's actually a really cool league. They offer life insurance, health insurance to all the fighters, and they get a percentage of the company too. if they win the tournament. But it's pretty cool. But he fought fantastic in that card. Clipped the guy in the first round, and then the guy kind of tried to wrestle his way through, and then the second round just absolutely dropped the guy and finished the job. So, and you look at all the other fights he had outside the UFC, I think he deserves at least one more shot. Just because I think, one is a mistake, two makes it kind of consistent. So I personally think he deserves another shot, but especially since he came in on short notice, I'd give the guy another shot. Obviously, it wasn't the best performance, but I think everyone deserves a second shot.
I 100% agree. I do. Like I said, he went 4-1 outside of the UFC. And wait, is that true? Did he massively miss weight? No. That was another guy, I think, that you're thinking of. And that they called that fight off. He missed by like...
He did miss.
Oh, shit. By how bad?
177. He missed by 7 pounds.
Oh, wow. I mean, he did...
I take back what I said.
Yeah, I mean, he took the fight on short notice. I get that. But, dude, don't take the fight on short notice if you're going to miss by 7 pounds. Like, that's...
I'm looking at the what's it called? Like the topology of it.
Yeah.
And he made weight at 170 on the 18th of last month. That was the
man. Fight.
So he should have been ready.
Yeah, he shouldn't have blown up that much. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
can't talk smack, but
you're right, Hato. I think he's out. I think because the massive weight miss and the fact, I mean, it doesn't matter if you went 4-1 outside the UFC to fight your way back in. You just basically sealed your ticket back out with that. Lackluster performance and missing weight by 7 pounds. Jesus, like that's egregious. That's a lot. That's a big weight miss. All right, so he's cut. Moving into the next fight, PFL for that man. PFL for him right away. Moving into the next fight on my list, I have Ariana Lipski versus JJ Aldrich, and I thought Ariana Lipski was going to get it done. That's why I threw a side bet on her. Also had her on my DraftKings. I didn't know she was going to get it done so masterfully. She looked better on the feet. She looked a step ahead on the ground. And she looked more calm in that performance than I think I've ever seen her inside of the UFC octagon. That looked like one of her old KSW performances. She fought JJ Aldrich the same way that she fought Diana Belbita in KSW. And I think if she can continue to do that, she can be a real threat to the division. Maybe not the top 5, but I don't think it's a bad idea to give her someone like right outside of the top 15, like an Antonina Shevchenko.
Yeah, my notes on her was patience. She took her time, was deliberate, and JJ Aldrich is not a person to sleep on. I mean, she's training partner of Rose, so obviously is always on her P's and Q's. But she took her time, like you said, masterfully set up everything. But yeah, on the feet, she looked ridiculous. And that's all I got to say on that one, just because it that was the fight in a synopsis.
Yeah, I completely agree. Patience. That's she just put. I mean, it was arguably her best octagon performance in the UFC thus far, hands down for me. And God, I'm so happy to see it, man. Like, she was one of the people I was most excited to get to see fight live in UFC San Diego, and she was doing so good up until she wasn't. She lets herself get into a brawl. She's almost like featherweight Dustin Poirier, where like he used to let himself get into these freaking brawls, even with like guys that he's much better than, and then he gets knocked out or dropped at the very least. And it's like, dude, why are you doing this to yourself? You are smarter than this. You are better than this. Don't play their game. Or you're like, if that's your game, then switch your game, dude. Like you're such a better fighter than that. So I'm glad to see that she's kind of leveled up. And again, I think a fight against like Antonina Shevchenko would be a really fun, like kind of a kickboxer's delight for us fans. And a very winnable fight for Ariane if she did take that fight.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially with all the hype she came into the UFC. I mean, she also has one of the best nicknames in the sport.
Queen of Violence? Like, absolutely.
How do you beat that? But I got to meet her when I was training at Fight Ready in Arizona. She's nice. A big girl. She's bigger than me.
She's very tall, dude.
Surprised.
Like she's surprisingly like lanky.
Yeah, she was really big, and that was the one thing that shocked me when I met her. But yeah, no, fantastic performance. Looked like exactly like you said. Her performances prior to the UFC and KSW. So obviously, like you said, like right, look, we'll see what we go from here. But hopefully we get to see that version of herself from here on out. Especially, I mean, my other favorite performance of hers was when you see her on her almost her back taken, and then she looks up and like ding, like a light bulb comes on and goes for the knee bar. That was one of the best performances of hers, dude.
She literally looked up at, like, I don't know if you know the GIF, but there's like a dot GIF of this little girl like turning and looking at the camera and doing this like evil smirk. Yeah. That's the exact face Ariana Lipski did in that fight right before she pulled that knee bar. It was like she literally looked almost like to the camera like, I know a secret. She just taps her out so painfully. That knee bar was disgusting.
Yeah, and it was like flexing back.
Oh, dude, it was so good. Masterfully done. Just like this, like that submission was like this performance as a whole, start to finish. Like just very masterful, very calculated, very tact. Can't wait to see her back in there. Speaking of someone I can't wait to see back in there, Victor Henry. I had to do the face swap with you on him because that guy deserved to be on the cover one way or another. My God, dude. Victor Henry versus Tony Gravely deserved fight of the night. Not that guy that grabbed the fence 22 times. Like,
well, even if so, what about Merab? Like, you couldn't give him fight of the night?
I mean, at the very least, you got to give that guy performance of the night.
Yeah, like,
come on. He outstruck one of the best strikers in the division, and he set the record for most takedown attempts, and he took him down double-digit times. Like, come on.
You got either of those two. Either way, Victor Henry actually trains out here in California, but more LA area. It's a gym called CMMA. It's run by Chad George. He's like a Bellator vet. But no, that pace was ridiculous. That was Merab-esque, in my opinion.
Dude, when I saw him in the second round, I literally turned and looked at Mary, and I'm like, "Babe, this is incredible." She's like, this guy's literally like a Tasmanian devil. And I was like, there's no fucking way he keeps this up for 3 rounds. There's no way. And he comes out in the third round, just bouncing around. Like, I mean, like, and then Tony Gravely's not a scrub, but the way that he was kind of pushing him and I don't want to say like dominating him, but constantly setting the pace and dictating the dance, like start to finish. Victor Henry did not give him any room to breathe. Like suffocating pressure.
The corner work of Josh Barnett also was great.
Oh my God. He's a terrifying man.
He is such a vet. And, that's what shocked me too about that fight was his corner work. I think DC said something about it too. So, that was great. That was a great fight. That was really fun just to watch. But like you said, they deserve fight of the night, if not Merab.
Yeah. I think I would give them, like, if I'm the guy at the top, I'm giving them fight of the night, and I'm giving Merab performance of the night, like, hands down.
Just give them the money. Forget it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just give them the money. Like, everybody that gets a finish should get some kind of bonus, in my opinion, too.
Or even a guy I got to train with, Bruno Silva.
That was a beautiful finish.
Yeah, he's improved a lot since I trained with him, so that was kind of shocking to watch. But no, good guy. That was a hell of a fight too.
Yeah, that was a great fight. There was like, this is one of those cards that people slept on that really delivered. Like, if we're doing gymnastics score, I'd give this card a 9.5. It delivered 100%. Like top to bottom.
Also, I'm gonna sound like Ariel Helwani here, but it was way better than being at Apex.
Oh man, dude, I want to get tickets to wherever the fuck that card is.
It was
It was in a hotel. It was in a hotel showroom or like a hotel theater.
Yeah, I know. Dude, it was awesome.
One of the homies on MMA Twitter went to it, and she posted a picture from her seats. She's like, "These were the cheaper seats. This arena is amazing because it's so small. The fighters walk out on one side, basically, are like touching hands with everybody on the right side, and then when they walk out, they exit on the left." And she's like, "Because the arena is so small and there's not that many people here, the fighters are literally doing meet and greets with everybody as they're leaving their fights."
It's the theater at Virgin Hotels. I think it's brand new.
Yeah, I hope they start doing more cards there, and if so, I cannot wait for a card that the general population thinks is a watered down card, so that way I can get cheap tickets and go. Dude, facts.
We're going.
Yeah.
But the other thing too that I thought was I don't know if you saw it, but that one I forgot who it was. You might have to bring it up, but the foul of the day was the fighter that hit the beer into the fans.
Face. Dude, that was so funny. So funny.
He even was like,
and then he literally like he stopped for a second and was like, oh shit, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like in that like whole like mental aspect of like I'm about to go in a fight, he even knew he messed up.
Dude, yeah, that was Lucas Brzezinski who lost to Carl Williams. That was
I'll never
amazing.
forget that for the rest of my life now. That whole scene played out.
He's all, hey, he goes to high five him, just knocks the beer out of his hand, and he's like, oh shit.
People don't forget.
Dude, and that's like a $25 beer. Everybody knows
100%. That. It's Vegas. Always overpriced.
There's nothing better than a $25 beer, though. Something about it just makes them taste better. Maybe the fact that you know you're only going to get a couple of them because they're so steep.
Yeah. Or he pre-gamed.
Absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely necessary, as Jorge Masvidal would say. Super necessary. So, moving into the next fight, we had Cedric's SD, the Reaper Dumas. Big time finisher. Had a lot of hype coming in. Coming in against Josh Fremd, who looked like he might be on his way out. And Josh Fremd showed up and looked like a man that was fighting for his job. He showed the absolute best version of himself. And, man, I got to say, man, I don't think that this is the end for SD Dumas. I do think that we see him back in there. I don't know if we see the terror that he was proving to be outside of the UFC octagon. But I will tell you, I'm super excited for Chris Weidman's nephew, Josh Fremd, to come back in there and get another fight. He's not actually related to Chris Weidman, but he definitely looks like he could be Chris Weidman's nephew, 100%.
You had me bought in. Like,
dude, he looks like a little Weidman. Like Weidman took him to school, you know, like to wrestling
100%.
school.
You had me 100% bought in, and I was like, wait, is he really? No, he's at a great camp too. He's at Factory X. Mark Montoya is a great coach, great game planner, and I mean the guy was the LFA champ, so you know it's no one to sleep on ever. Tough first fight in the UFC, obviously, but like you said, he definitely deserves a second chance. Like he came off of the Contender Series, so it's not like he has no notoriety in that regard. People knew his name before the first fight because of that. So why wouldn't you give him a second chance, especially with the reception that he got coming off the show? People loved him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, people were a big fan of that guy. And he just like he looks intimidating. He looks like a fighter. And
he bought in.
He's very finished. Like he has like an 85% finishing rate. Like,
yeah, I believe so. And
once
you get the face tattoo, you're full in.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah.
What else are you gonna do? You be a prison guard, maybe? I don't know.
Even then, like you kind of
it's tough.
Yeah, you got a certain look once you get the face tattoo, especially when you go all in like he did.
You're pretty committed at that point, I think. So last fight before we jump into looking forward, what's next? I got Davey Grant versus Rafael Assunção. It was, again, going back to the tagline of the fight card, the highest of highs, the lowest of lows. I am a big fan of Rafael Assunção. I'm an even bigger fan of Davey Grant. I've been a fan of his since the Ultimate Fighter days. Me and Mary watched that season together. Make no mistake, I think Davey was winning this fight. I know that like one or two of the judges had it scored as a tie going into the third round. I think Davey was going to win that third round. Granted, Rafael did get some control time. He wasn't winning the fight. We base it on damage, and I thought Davey was landing the more damaging strikes. You could see it. The biggest elephant in the room, though, is that ref, dude. Like, the ref stands them up to take a point from Davey for grabbing the fence, which he didn't do it maliciously. He, like, leaned, grabbed it instinctually. It happens sometimes. I haven't seen him do that kind of thing in fights before. That's why I'm saying it's not maliciously. I don't think he's a cheater or that type. Either way, ref stands him up, takes a point, and then starts them in a standing position. After Rafael worked his ass off to get top position. So, again, like, I don't get it. And I agree with Hato here. Like, Grant got deducted a point for one fence grab. No warning, mind you. Didn't get a warning. They stood him up to deduct a fucking point. One fence grab into the fight. Third round. Fight's almost over. Yet a young man got to grab the fence as many times as Marab shot takedown attempts. and didn't get a point taken. I think he got warned like 10 times. That other guy,
Yeah. No,
Trakaji or
100%.
whatever.
And like the thing too, it's like they say with basketball actually, like with the refs, it's all about consistency. As long as like from one, like well, let's go back to basketball in this sense. You know, if you're going to make this one call for this one team, you better equally do it to the other team as well. So in this regard, you got to be consistent between fights. It's the sport. You got to be consistent.
It's a sport. That's like, I always tell people, like, whenever things like this happen, like little inconsistencies, that's why we're never going to be considered a Big Five sport. If we want to have the respect of football, basketball, NHL, MLB, etc., we have to find consistency in our judging, in our scoring, in our training, in our fight making. Like, I think that's another big issue, mainly like more so outside of the UFC. The UFC typically does a good job unless they're really trying to build somebody or inflate somebody at matchmaking. But like Bellator, come on. Like MVP's first 5 fights were against people that worked at the fucking Texaco pumping gas. Come on.
Well, in Bellator, I agree. But I believe also you should build up a fighter like almost like a boxer.
I agree and disagree. I think you should build them up, but I think you should build them up against people that have similar training and experience.
100%.
And I think Bellator is probably the worst at doing the opposite.
Yeah, 100%. Look what they did with
Pico. Like they just the dogs from the get go. Like
and that's the thing. There's no medium ground. Like they feed you to the dogs, or they literally feed you cans. Like that WWE guy, what's his name? Jake Hager or Jack Hager or whatever. He fought a guy that worked at a meat plant. I remember watching the media day and the guy literally was like, yeah, man, Bellator gave me a call about 5 days ago. And they're like, well, what were you doing 5 days ago? And he's like, I was working my normal 9 to 5 at a meat plant. What the hell?
What about what they did with Valerie Loretta, I believe? They called the girl that was a Hooters.
And she did good.
And I thought she won that fight.
I started following the Hooters girl. I still follow her under the MMAnomaly Instagram. And like every time she posts anything about training, I'm like, dude, get it, girl. Like, I was impressed.
That was awesome.
It was great.
Off the couch.
Yeah. Dude, took off the apron, put on the gloves.
Yeah, literally. Like, but the thing is, like what you were saying, and I agree with, is you build up a fighter with tests. And, you know, a great example of this is actually Devin Haney. His father did a fantastic job of building.
Oh, Devin Haney's he's a prime boxer right now.
Yeah, he's the champion. But you look at the way he was built up by his dad. He went pro at 17 in Mexico, which was the only country that would allow it basically anywhere near America. And he built it up, like not from bums, but guys that had more experience than him, and then would bring a certain challenge to each fight, and then build it up. And look at where he is now. I mean, he absolutely blowing the roof off of the guys he's fighting because he has these tests that he's already passed, and now he's at the point where he's willing to pass any test there is. So that's the way I look at it.
Another, like, since we touched boxing, another boxer that I really like the way that they are building up is like Ryan Garcia. I feel like he started off the first half of his career the wrong way, fighting nobodies, getting built on tin cans. But in the last probably like 4 or 5 years, he's actually fought some pretty strong guys, and guys that not only have wins on their record, but have finishes on their record. And it shows. Like, he got dropped, I think, I can't remember if it was a body shot or a headshot in his last fight, but he got dropped, and then he rallied, came back, and finished the dude with a body shot like 2 rounds later.
Yeah.
And like, I think that, and that's the thing, like, dude, it those are the types of fights that pay dividends, because like, you're a fighter. I've trained. Like, anybody that's trained or fought before, like, they'll tell you learn 10 times more in a loss or 10 times more in a trying situation than you do in a win, or an easy win for that matter. Mm-hmm. Like, if you're able to just blast through somebody, you've taken nothing from that other than a win.
100%.
It's not going to help you in your next fight. You're not going to grow from it. You're not going to learn from it. If you go 15 minutes, 25 minutes, or you get dropped and then rally back and win that fight in the next round, that's when you learn a lot about yourself, and B, you learn a lot of things that you probably should have done better, maybe could do better in the next fight, or things that you didn't know you were good at that you're probably going to drill even more this next camp, because you had to hit them in this dark moment, right? Or this trying moment. So Hado wants us to touch on Carl Williams' power and his takedowns. If I had to describe the way that he took that man down in that fight, I would literally say, hey, have you seen the original Avengers movie? You know when Hulk slings around the god, Loki? That's pretty much what it was like. Like, it was like a cheat code. Like he turned off the gravity effects and he's just like, I'm going to dump you here. Oh, I'm going to pick you up and dump you here.
It kind of reminded me of one of my buddies fought last night. He's 18, right? Okay, so he's a state champion, I believe, in California, which is probably the hardest state to win a state championship because there's only one division. There's no Class A. There's no like 1, 2.
All the dogs are at the top.
But there's only one state champion for each weight class, which is
nice.
Unlike any other state. And he fought his first fight last night at 19. And he literally flared the legs and everything and slammed the guy. And it reminded me of that in that situation because there's levels to this. And it really was shown, not just strength-wise, but also
the octagon did move when they hit the fence. I don't know if you heard, but all three of the commentators jumped back at one point.
Yeah, he said he almost got you. Didn't they?
Paul Felder was like, dude, don't think I didn't see you jump. And like they started laughing, and he's like, I did too. Don't worry. That shit was hilarious, dude. It was like you literally saw it jarring whenever he was picking like that guy up. It was, Carl Williams' power and the way that he was able to manhandle him. It almost felt like the closest comparison in a fight we've seen, I think, was Daniel Cormier when he fought Dan Henderson.
Yeah.
When he was like lifting him and just literally making him do front flips through the air before he slammed him.
Like he threw him around like a child.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how dads
come here, son.
Kids. Yeah. Like that was it.
Yeah. That was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful performance. So
I do want to actually get back to what we were talking about real quick with the Davey Grant fight.
I was like, oh, we gotta talk about that inverted triangle before we move on.
Yeah. Aiden and I, our favorite fighter outside of like, you know, the guys that we like to mimic and whatnot is Davey Grant. Because that dude comes to fight every time, entertaining as it can get. Like, obviously he's not the most, like, he's technical, but not the most technical.
He's a pocket brawler.
Caution to the win. Caution to the win. 100%. And then you got to give respect to Rafael Sunsao, the ultimate gatekeeper of the 135 division in history, I'd say. I mean, you know, putting the gloves down. I just thought it was a interesting fight. Like you said, the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows, all in one fight.
Yeah, it really was. It was peak MMA fandom. Like we got to watch a legend retire after a heartbreaking performance, and we got to watch another guy who is not young by any means. He's an old man in the sport of MMA.
Yeah.
And he got arguably the biggest win of his life, of his career. And now he's setting up to continue a pretty fucking great run in the division. And if he continues to fight like that, and like that was a smarter version of Davey Grant in there. He was more patient than we usually see. He wasn't jumping into those pocket brawls like he usually does, which I'm not mad when he does jump into those pocket brawls, but for the longevity of the next like 2 years that he has left, or 3 years max that he has left, he should probably fight like he fought Sunsao. And if he does, I'd love to see what's next for him. Like, let him keep breaking top 15, top 10, and kind of let him test his grit. I feel like he's like like not necessarily the style, but the excitement of it when he does get into those brawls. It's like when he has those flares and those flurries, it's like Mike Tyson, dude. Like he just literally, like you said, he throws caution to the wind and he's like, dude, you might tag me, but I'm going to tag you 3 times. and 2 of them are going to be to the body, and you're not going to like that.
But I had the same feeling about this fight as I did the night before with the Benson Henderson Nurmagomedov fight.
Oh yeah,
because you had the highest of the highs, the lowest of the lows. You got a guy that absolute legend of the sport. A little obviously more than Rafael was, because Benson is obviously one of the goats of 55 in UFC or MMA history. But you still had that like really sad ending where they were retired because they lost, and you're like, damn. But you also had a bright shiny moment for the other guy.
Yeah.
So
and we usually don't get that.
100%.
Like usually when we see a legend retire, it's like they fed him to a nobody, or not a nobody, but like an up and comer that nobody's really heard of. We don't have a lot of stock in. Oh, fucking Jesus, dude. Can we not talk about that? sad stuff, dude. But yeah, like that's usually how it is, right? Or like Shogun Hua. Like you got the guy from the Ukraine doing like the finger guns at him, and like,
yeah, that was ridiculous.
Like I get it, that's the guy's move. Like he does that in all of his other fights, but we don't know who that guy is. We know the guy that he just literally blasted and dismantled, and we're all crying now as grown men and women watching Shogun retire. So yeah, like you said, in this one it was really nice that we didn't just have the sad moment and the reason to cry, but we also had a reason to like take that sigh of relief and kind of cheer a little bit, something to uplift our spirits. And man, yeah, I'm super excited to see what's next for Davey Grant. I again, top 15, I think he deserves at this point. And I'd like to see how he holds up against it. If he beats someone in the top 15, give him someone in the top 10. Like I said, he's only got like 2 or 3 years left of this probably. I'd like to see if he can string together a run and kind of what that looks like.
100%. I agree with you. Give the guy a shot.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely warranted. And with that being said, we've got like 5 fights here that we're going to go over who we think these biggest winners of last night should fight next. So let's look ahead. So looking ahead at what's next, the first one on the list here that we have is Mario Bautista. He looked absolutely masterful over Guido Canetti. Guido Canetti, I've made jokes about him before, and I always feel bad when I make jokes about Guido Canetti because he seems like a really good dude, and he's a game fighter. But Drew is actually the guy that I usually joke about Guido Canetti with. Me and Drew always joke about Guido Canetti, or back in the day. We used to say, if you don't have a win over Guido Canetti, are you even in that division of the UFC? So anyways, Mario Bautista went out there, got it done very quickly, made it look masterful, got the rear naked choke in the very first round. I personally think what's next for him is, speaking of Frankie Edgar, Chris Gutierrez.
Okay.
So Chris Gutierrez versus Mario Bautista. In the chat, you guys go ahead and throw in who you think should be next for Mario Bautista. Do you have someone lined up for him, Ian? Who do you think?
Yeah. Just for how I put it this way, for entertainment factor, Adrian Yanez. That's what I want to see. Just because they both have very crisp boxing.
Yeah.
They're no slouch on the ground. I just think it'd be fun. Obviously he's going to take the 15 mark, I'd assume, by now, because especially since somehow Jack Shore is still on number 15, even though he moved up to featherweight.
Interesting.
So, yeah. And then, I just think that would be a fun one. Like, why not, right? I think it would be just an all-around banger.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that'd be a really fun fight. I think that'd be a fight where I don't know if I'd put money on Mario Bautista or not, but I think that the fans would win that fight 100%.
And he'd learn a lot about himself, kind of like what we were talking about building a fighter.
Yeah.
The next test, that would be a great next test for him.
Chris Gutierrez has an upcoming fight?
Who's he fighting? Let's find out.
He's
fighting Pedro Munoz.
Oh, dude. Money. The loser of that fight fights Mario Bautista.
And then Yanez is fighting Font.
And the loser of that fight fights Jonathan Martinez. Aren't they in the same weight class? Is that the same weight class? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually did have somebody else picked for him. You'll like this because I know that you're not a Nurmagomedov fan, or I don't think you are.
Which one? It depends.
I feel like you hate the fucking bloodline, dude. Let's just be honest.
No, I'm a big Umar fan.
Then you might not like this one. So Jonathan Martinez, I have in my notes, picked up a unanimous decision win over Said Nurmagomedov, being just a step ahead of him for most of, if not all of, the fight. There were a couple of dangerous moments. He did have him in a choke, which Jonathan Martinez, he defended absolutely masterfully. It was beautiful. For people that don't watch grappling, I gotta feel like they were probably just scratching their heads. For me, I didn't breathe for about 58 seconds when he had that choke on Martinez. I was just watching that, holding my breath, like, no, he's got it. It's under. And Jonathan did all the right things. He did all the things. And with him winning that fight over Said Nurmagomedov, being in the right division, I think since nobody else wants to fight the boogeyman, Jonathan Martinez versus Umar Nurmagomedov.
No, Umar deserves a top.
I agree. Umar deserves a top 10 or a top 5.
No, he deserves top 5. Let's forget that.
Okay, you are an Umar fan.
No, I think he's the truth. I really.
Oh, Cody Garbrandt versus Jonathan Martinez?
No, I mean, in my opinion, if he didn't have a fight already, if we're going to people that already had fights, Ricky Simone would be a fun one.
Dude, the thought of that fight, Cody Garbrandt versus Jonathan Martinez, gave me a half chub.
Not really, because I mean, let's call a spade here. Cody's going to get dropped.
Maybe, but that would be one of those fun moments like we got with Sun Sal versus Davey Grant, where we get to watch somebody that we do know the name of a little bit, like a Jonathan Martinez. Like we have to watch Cody Garbrandt lose and retire at some point.
Yeah,
it might as well be to a
still.
Fun name. That's fair.
And then another thing too is, once again, another guy who has a fight already, but it would be fun to see them fight Pedro Munoz. That'd be.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. I wouldn't mind Pedro Munoz. If he loses his next fight, then he fights Jonathan Martinez.
Mm-hmm.
Because that'll put him right outside of top 15. He'll probably be like 16 or 17 at that point.
Yeah, because Pedro's at number 9 right now.
Yeah, I think if he loses this fight, he probably drops down like 3 or 4 places, just because how many moving parts and how active that division is as a whole.
100%.
He'll probably be like between 13 to 15 ranked, and that'd be a good fight for Jonathan Martinez. I like your pick better.
Yeah, I just think Umar deserves top 5. Or even...
I agree. Like when I typed it, I felt bad for Umar, but I also feel like Jonathan Martinez has like worked his way up a little bit, and he does deserve a top 15 already. But Umar's probably not that guy.
I think Umar, if we're going to talk about him, deserves the winner of the Cheeto Sandhagen fight.
The winner?
Yep.
No, the winner's fighting for the belt, dog. What the fuck?
No, because this is my thought.
Dude, Cheeto should already be fighting for the belt.
He should, but hear me out. There is such a clog at that title fight shot. You got Henry now who's fighting for the title miraculously out of thin air. You got Sean who's waiting in the wings, who literally is going to get the next shot. And then you got Marab who's waiting for Aljo to go up to 45. You have 3 people who are waiting for a title shot over Cheeto. And
so hold on.
Get it before him.
So the 2 people that you think deserve a title shot before Cheeto are who?
No. I don't think they deserve it. I know that they're going to get a shot before Cheeto does.
I don't like that
because
at all.
They've already said Sean was going to get the title shot. He hasn't, but he's still going to get it one. After the winner of this fight is going to get him, and he's already the backup for the fight. All right, so that's one guy already we got to put on there. We got Rob, who just literally looks like a goddamn marauder, like going through everybody right now.
The guy's a machine.
He literally, his nickname is the most fitting one there is.
Yeah.
So I mean, heck, like, you know what I mean? Like it's really hard as a clog in the division right now.
Yeah.
And someone's got to get weeded out.
I say he fights the
Piotr. You think he fights Piotr Jan?
Oh shit! I think that's worst case scenario for Piotr Jan.
I do too, but
because you feed him to another wrestler, and that's arguably like
he's
way
not fully a wrestler. His kickboxing is filthy.
So his kick, he would blast Piotr with leg kicks, and he would blast him with kicks to the body. Like, dude,
the head kicks I think would get
the head kick. Well, that's the thing is like he'll blast him for the first round and a half with leg kicks and body kicks, and then he'll go high and he'll knock him out. Yeah, or he'll rock him and then get a rear naked choke.
It's a hard choice.
Yeah, I don't like that at all for Piotr Jan. I think he should fight the loser of that Cheeto Vera fight.
I'll even take that. But
I don't know though. I think the winner of that fight really has done enough to cement a title shot. I think the loser should definitely have to fight an Umar Nurmagomedov.
I agree, but like it's going to be a hard sell.
And the return of Triple C just throws a fork, just a wrench in everything, dude.
He ruined everything.
Dude, swear, dude. It's all bad.
How does he get a title? I mean, granted, what he has done I agree. But how does he get a title shot off coming off the couch?
Same way GSP did. He did the groundwork before he retired.
GSP also had how many title defenses?
Fair. He doesn't have the title defenses, but he dismantled TJ. He got the decision win over arguably the GOAT in Mighty Mouse Johnson. I mean, like, those 2 wins alone pretty much do it for me and make it like, okay, cool. He can come back and get a title shot, or at the very least get a contender shot. And I think that's what happens, realistically. I think he comes back and gets a contender shot. I don't think they give him an instant title shot.
I got one little thing about that. Obviously, I have connections to it, but that wasn't the real TJ. Come on, let's call a spade a spade.
Bro, I don't care if that was the best TJ or the worst TJ. It was TJ Dillashaw, and Henry Cejudo dismantled him. Like, not trying to be a dick, but just calling a spade a spade. Like, if it was 135, I still think that fight would... I don't think it would have went as quickly as it did, by any means, but I think it would have played out in a similar fashion. Because TJ's greatest asset has always been his speed, and Henry's a little bit faster than him.
I'd have to disagree, but I guess we'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, I mean, we can't agree on everything, and that's fine. Like, I also know that you're close to TJ, you train with TJ. Like, this would be like me talking about Islam. I will go to bat for Islam every day of the week. Like, and you know this, and you would probably go against him in a lot of the conversations that would come up. But
if it involves Volk, I'm going to war. But
see, you know what I'm saying?
I'm okay with it.
So we can agree to disagree on that.
Agreed.
I have always been a big TJ fan of his fights. I was the only guy in my apartment that bet on him to beat Renan Barao in the first fight. Drew was actually telling me when we had like everybody over to watch the fights, he's like, bro, you don't have to look dumb. Just like blink twice if you know you're wrong and Renan's gonna win. And I'm like, bro, just watch. And then that masterclass happened. So like
two people beat Barao like ridiculously. It was TJ and USADA.
God damn. Oh man. TJ and Henry at 135. Like, that's what I'm saying. If TJ does come back, which I know you're close to it and you're probably not going to say anything. He's not coming back?
He's not coming back.
He's not doing the... Are you sure? I don't want to be a dick and put you in the hot seat here, but like the rumor on the Twitter mill is that he's doing the old who did it best? Like Connor
I know
took time away and then, beefed up a little bit, avoided some USADA testing and then came back. That's the rumor mill.
No insider, but from what I believe is that he's enjoying time with his son, watching him grow up and being a part of his life. And he has multiple businesses outside.
Oh yeah, he's got like the juice business and stuff like that.
That's just the beginning of it. Like he's got all these different businesses he's running and he enjoys it. And I think it's time for him to be a dad and live his life. And you know what? Like, in my opinion, once again, I'm going to catch flack for this, but in my opinion, he's the GOAT of 135. And, he's already stamped his place in UFC history. And
I would say he's top 3 in 135.
In my opinion, top 2 at least. So, yeah. Him and Dom at number 1 and 2.
God, I wish Cody could have had a better career after that Dom fight, because that performance he put on over Dom was so mad. It's like the best 135 singular performance I've ever seen in my entire life. Dominic Cruz is definitely up there for me. He's the tale of having fought too long past his prime.
His body's prime.
Oh, absolutely. His brain is just always going to be one of the best intellects in fight sports. Fact. Like, and I say fight sports because it's not just MMA. Like, I would say his fight IQ and understanding of body mechanics and everything about the fight game is top 5 of all time with like boxing analyst, everything. He's just his brain is the best part of him. Like, if his body held up the way his brain did, like dude would literally be the GOAT in the sport.
It's a shame what happened with his body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of his in the UFC.
I'm not mad at that. TJ versus Cruz retirement fight for both. Winner retires, loser retires. fans win. That's a fun fight.
We tried that with Frankie in there. I forgot who he was. Everyone wanted him to fight.
Everybody wanted him to fight Dom.
Yeah, that's what it was. That would have been a fun one.
That would have been a really fun one.
But that was a shame. Thanks a lot, matchmakers, for breaking all of our hearts.
Oh, dude, that's a good fight. Dominic versus fucking what's his face? Peter Yan.
No, don't do that to him. Come on.
What are you talking? Don't do that to who? Don't do that to Peter. I think Dom beats him.
It depends which Dom shows up, because that last fight he looked a little bit slower.
He was he was flat-footed. He was flat-footed in the second round of that fight.
But do you think that has anything to do with the fact that he constantly gets plantar fasciitis? That's the.
I would assume so. I have plantar fasciitis and my feet suck.
Yeah.
But even so, like, even if my feet are killing me, I'm not like. Well, granted, I haven't sparred in quite some time, but like when I'm working, when I'm drilling and stuff like that, like even when my plantar fasciitis is flaring up, like I feel like I'm not standing as flat-footed as he was standing in that second round. And for Dom, like he's such a light, spry, springy guy. Drew says Cruz was beating Cheeto before getting knocked into the shadow realm, right?
100%. 100%.
I mean, he was winning the fight. He had the better footwork, but Cheeto also like lets that happen in a lot of his fights that he ends up winning. Like
all Cheeto fights,
huh?
All of Cheeto's fights as of recent, he
takes the first round off.
It's not even that. It's like the first 2 or 3.
He's
main events.
He's like a lazy or like a stoner Adesanya. Like like, you know how Adesanya spends like seriously, like you know how Adesanya spends like the first like 3 to 5 minutes downloading data, and then it's like, all right, I'm gonna turn it on now. Like he does that for like the first 8 to 10. He's just downloading data, and then after that, he's like, oh, he moves his head to the left when he throws the jab. Heck yeah. So like, seriously, I feel like he's like a stoner Adesanya. Kind of like how Jason Perillo is like a drunk stoner version of fucking what's Trevor Whitman.
I knew you were gonna go that way.
Yeah, he is. They're the same guy. One of them just drinks and smokes weed.
I actually have a good story about him. So my
which one, Perillo?
Perillo, yeah. My fiance's dad was like texting me, and he was like, "Hey, I'm with this fighter and this coach. I'm at a bar. I was just I couldn't get a hold of you because I was at practice at the time." And he was like, "There's these 2 guys. I was showing them all your pictures, your fights, and all the videos and stuff. They were really nice guys. I'm just forgetting, their names. I just kind of remember one of the guys' names. He was Hawaiian, and we were all drinking together. And I think his name was BJ."
Oh my God!
It was BJ Penn and Jason Perillo. He was showing him all my fights and like photos and stuff at the bar with him. But it was funny that you were saying like a drunken, like a high version of him.
I swear though, like that's every time I hear him in interviews, like he has the same fight intellect and style of coaching too as Trevor Whitman. But when you hear him talk and you see him, he always seems like he's just a little bit under the influence in the best kind of way. Like
they're both very boxing-esque or boxing
oh, absolutely
centric guys. Well, obviously Trevor and him were both professional boxers.
Professional boxers, yeah.
Yeah.
And Trevor Whitman stopped because his hands. He has like brittle hands.
Perillo was his eye.
Yeah, he had eye issues.
Yeah.
And Perillo, Perillo's such a good coach. Both those guys are really good coaches. They're some of the best boxing coaches.
Their camps are really interesting too because they both have very small camps. Like
Perillo's very small staples of fighters.
And Perillo's at Ruka's headquarters, like the brand Ruka. They have their own personal gym, and he has that. And then
he's only working with like a few pros now. He's only working with I think like 5 fighters.
No, he's working with like 8 I think now. There's a couple guys you don't know yet because they're amateurs or they're just turned pro. Because I know a couple of them.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I know of 5 pros that he's working with.
Yeah, and I know that I would just haven't talked to him about
Cheeto equals Romero, same starter. Yeah, he's like he's like if they were Pokemon, he'd be like the tier 1 evolution, and Romero would be like the final evolution.
And I know that Cheeto is actually working. I haven't talked to him about it, but he's working with one of my buddies, Juan Archuleta. They've been helping each other for his fights. Because Juan's
a beast, dude.
He's fighting for Ryzen again.
Juan is?
Yeah.
He's fighting Ryzen and against one of their 35ers, and the winner fights for the Ryzen title. He loved it over there in Japan, and he loves it. So
I love that, dude. I think that's a great fit for. I think it's a great fit for Archuleta. I think his style will really benefit from training with a Jason Perillo because he has power, and
he's not being coached by him. He's still being coached by his manager.
But he's doing some. He's training over there with him a little bit, or
yeah, they're like sparring,
cross training. Okay,
that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. So I don't think he should switch camps to Jason Perillo, but I do think that cross training with Perillo would be a great thing for him because his the only holes that I see are in his boxing combinations. Sometimes he does leave slight openings, and it's only when he gets excited. I've seen it in like 3 of his fights, and otherwise he genuinely doesn't get hit. Like he doesn't leave a whole lot of holes in his armor, so to speak. But when he gets into those like 2, 3, 4 shot combos, sometimes he'll. I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm guilty of the same thing. It's why fucking, what's his name? Dwayne Ludwig slapped me across the face whenever I went to one of his training seminars. I dropped my guard and he's like, run that again. I ran it again. It was like an 8-shot combo and he's all, bah! Slapped me. His fucking finger caught me in the freaking bone. And I was like, what the fuck? He's like, put that hand up, ninja. I'm like, all right. Didn't drop my hand again. Juan typically learns in fights. I've seen it happen to him though. Like he'll throw like that 3rd shot and he'll go 1, 2. And then as he's throwing the 3rd, this hand doesn't quite come back here. It's like whoosh, and he leaves it open and he puts it down in his body. And like, he hasn't absorbed any body shots in that fight. So it's not like he's doing it to instinctually block his body. It's more of a lazy tick or a lazy tail. And I've seen him get hit in fights because of things like that. It hasn't cost him, but training with a Jason Perillo will stop that from ever costing him. He'll drill those like random things like that, like little tiny nuances of boxing that maybe he's not 100% getting all the time, you know? I know you've trained with different coaches. Huh?
They're homies too. Like
oh, nice.
I've trained with Cheeto. We had like a sick rotation for a week. It was me, Cheeto, TJ, and Juan, all in one group.
Fucking killer squad, bro.
It was so much fun. But Cheeto's such a cool cat, and
Cheeto seems like a really cool guy.
He is. He's a fun guy.
Speaking of fight IQ, Ryan Spann, his IQ is inconsistent.
Agreed.
I don't know if you watched my last episode, or it wasn't even last episode. I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks ago when these two were first supposed to fight. I went over Ryan Spann versus Nikita Krylov in that episode, and I think verbatim what I said was Ryan Spann is notoriously a slow starter who takes the first 5 minutes off of fights, and then comes in strong in the second round. And Nikita Krylov is notoriously a well-rounded fighter that when and if he smells blood in the water, goes for the finish relentlessly. If Ryan Spann takes the first fight off, I could see him getting, or the first round off, I could see him getting finished in the first round. It's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. Ryan Spann went in there like he was fighting a 5-round fight. It was a 3-round fight now. Nikita Krylov went in there like he was fighting a fucking 5-minute fight. Or like it was a Vale Tudo fight that was just one 30-minute round. Like, he literally went in there like a man on a mission that didn't care how long the round was or if there was even a second round. He knew he wouldn't need it. He came in there like a carpenter doing a job for a family, right? Like, he's not getting paid by the hour. He's getting paid by the job. You already paid him to be here. He's going to finish quick and get that paycheck and get the hell out. No damage. He took no damage in that fight. He got it done. And honestly, like, he dispatched Ryan Spann. Like, that's literally what I typed down in my notes. He looked masterful in dispatching Ryan Spann in the very first round. Made it look easy. I agree with Blackato. His fight IQ is not where it should be, especially for this point in his UFC career or MMA career for that matter. What do you think, like, before we go into what's next for Nikita Krylov, what do you think Spann needs to do? Like, do you think he needs to change camps?
Who is he with again? Is he with
I think he's at Killcliff, right?
Dallas?
Or I could be wrong.
For some reason, I thought he was what's it called, in Dallas with oh my god, it's gonna bother me now. I thought Fortis. Yeah, he's at Fortis MMA. That's what it was.
Fortis. Okay, man, so that's a good camp.
That's one of the best coaches. That's one of the best coaches in the game. Saeed Sayouf is the name.
Saif Sayoud.
Safe suit. Sorry, I apologize.
No,
I
okay.
apologize to him if he does watch this. But no, he's one of the best coaches in the game, a mastermind. I mean, you look at what he did with in a short amount of time too with the champion Brandon Moreno. So
yeah, I shouted him out on the show after that Brandon Moreno and before the Brandon Moreno fight even happened.
Definitely not. Someone to leave, right? Because he has the answers. I think it's really an introspective look now to be like, hey, what was I feeling in that fight this moment? Why did I freak out or whatever was going on in his head? And really dial down on the psychological aspect of the game. Because some people, like you said, right, they're slow starters. Well, it's time to work on starting faster.
Mm-hmm.
Or those guys that start too fast.
Time to slow things down.
Yeah, time to, which I'm, in my fights, I'm very, what's the word? I'm guilty of this. Is you just need to take a step, 5 seconds, and just go. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Find your bearings, find your groundings, get back to work, and slow things down because you'll get ahead of yourself. You'll already be thinking 5 steps ahead, and that's not allowing you to focus on what your step is right now.
Yeah.
I think that's something that happens to a lot of fighters.
Your brain's going like, wee, 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 wee.
Yeah.
Like you're like
overload, like, sensory overload.
And then, so I think that's a big one as well.
Oh, I completely agree with Lakato here. Jamal Hill is what Ryan Spann wants to be.
100%.
He wants to be able to go in there, look calm like that, but get finishes every fight. But he just like you said, his fight IQ is inconsistent, Arthur. I think as a whole, his fighting style, everything about him is inconsistent, right? Like his power is inconsistent. Sometimes he has knockout ability, sometimes he doesn't. And I don't know if that's because like maybe he gets the guys that he does finish on their worst possible night and they just go to sleep when he hits them, because he finishes people that don't typically go out like that. And then he goes against Nikita Krylov and he looks like that last night. And it's just, it's a shame.
Yeah, 100%.
I agree with what you're saying.
Talented.
He's super talented. And he does have a good coaching staff. Like, Fortis MMA is solid as hell. But, again, like, it could be one of those situations where it just isn't the right fit stylistically for him. Right? And that happens. We've seen it happen. There are people that go to AKA, which is a phenomenal gym. You will always hear me hype up AKA. It's my favorite gym I've ever been to. But some people go to AKA and they look worse than they did before they got there. Others go there and it turns them into a fucking world breaker. So
I agree. It's all about finding that coach.
A coach that you really click with, and it might not be Saif Sayoud for him.
100%. It's funny you brought that up because I truly, like, I don't want to always talk about myself or anything like that, but because no one likes that guy. But I feel like I found that now.
Let's give him the spotlight.
Oh wow, okay, that was nice. I feel like I found that with my own coach, and this is going. Don't worry, this is going somewhere. With my coach Altekin, he's the first Turkish UFC fighter, and he actually trained with Aljo. He trained with Merab and those guys, and he gave me a little insight going into this fight, into this main event rather, just because of how great Merab's wrestling is and how tenacious he is and whatnot. But he's one of those guys too. I click with him, and it's all about once you find that click, things start to change, and like you really see, and like when you're homies with your coach almost. I think that's a very big deal is that if you click with them, because I've worked with coaches in the past that I haven't clicked with, and it's like this awkward tension, almost like tension, right? So that like that you're trying to figure out, like you're almost like not scared of them, but like you're kind of like, I don't know what I can say around this guy. You got to be comfortable around him. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think you have to like. I think the one of the best things a coach can be is approachable. And that's not always the case, right? Like, I went to Expo West for a work event this week and I ran into Jocko Willink, right? Like ex-Navy SEAL, currently trains MMA fighters. Like, dude is an absolute beast of a man. Just standing in front of him, I don't know if I could imagine him being like my coach just because he's fucking terrifying. He's a scary guy. Like everything about him is manly as hell and intimidating.
He is America.
He is America. And like when he balls up his fist and you're like doing the standoff in front of him, like his fists are the size of a cantaloupe. Like
I was gonna say, does he have like those like Shane Carwin kind of type
Dude,
hands?
they're boulders. Like,
Yeah, that
and like
is
the way that my right hand, like my dominant striking hand, is almost like flat across the knuckle lining. Both of his are like that, and I'm just like, my God, dude could knock you out with a jab if he wanted to, probably. So like there are guys like that he's probably like a world-class coach, but I don't know if I would find him approachable to go ask questions to and to be like, hey, I saw you teaching this and I don't know if maybe I should do this instead of this. You know, like I don't know if I could have those like one-on-one conversations about technique with him. But and that could be the case that Superman Span is feeling with Saif Sayud. Like he is this mastermind. He is doing the Inside the Octagon shows that Dan Hardy used to do for the UFC. He does have a lot going on. Maybe it's just not a good mesh. Maybe it's not a good meld. But moving forward, Nikita Krylov, I think, put on a show-stopping performance and doesn't get talked about enough. And what I think should be next for this young man is a fight against Alexander Rakic, who's coming off of a loss himself. I'm curious. Who do you think he should match up with next? Because, I mean, again, Alexander Rakic just came off of a knee injury loss to Jan Blachowicz. And I mean, if he's able to come back soon enough for the like timing to work out, I think that's a great match. I think he's like number 5 now. Nikita deserves a top 5 opponent, in my opinion, after a win like that over Span. And then maybe it sets up the winner for either a title shot next or a title shot down the line.
Rankings-wise, I mean, we got to wait till tomorrow, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, till the rankings updates.
Because I was going to say Rakic is number 4 right now. But I could see Krylov taking that spot, jumping Smith in him. Like,
okay.
I just see the UFC doing that with their rankings. I don't know why. It just kind of popped.
I could see that happening. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he has a fight, but I think he should fight Anthony Smith. Just because I think Rakic.
As soon as you said Smith out loud, I was like, I had an Ariane Lipsky moment where I'm like, idea.
Yeah. Because honestly, I think Rakic, in all respect to him, I think he's a fantastic fighter. But coming off such a severe injury like that,
he might need time.
I think he deserves a almost like not a
tune-up
fight, but like a tune-up. Yeah, I think that's the word I was looking for. maybe against like a Johnny Walker or Volkan Ozdemir of some sort.
Oh yeah, give me Volkan Ozdemir versus Rakic. I think that'd be a fun rematch.
Right? Wouldn't that be a big thing just for him to get his bearings back? Because like I don't know if you believe in it or not, but there's ring rust. Whether you're Dom Cruz or not. And, I just think that he deserves at least his own shot at doing, like almost like a tune-up, let me see how my body is kind of thing.
Yeah, let me see how my knee responds to actual live fighting and things like that. Yeah, I think that'd be a good fight. Yeah, I think Volkan Ozdemir versus him would be fun. And, Nikita Krylov versus Anthony Smith is a really fun fight. I hate that fight for Anthony Smith, but man, I think that's a fight that Nikita Krylov has earned, and I think it'd be a fun fight for us to watch.
And Smith deserves a paycheck because he got screwed. No offense, but he got screwed out of a fight with Jamal Hill.
Yeah,
and the way they presented that about him live on television without pre-warning him,
that was messed up. He was on the desk,
and not even just that. The class he showed in that situation,
I would have been heated because that's like it's a big fight.
Class act. That's all.
It's like, not only do I lose a fight, but they chose my opponent to go fight for the vacant belt.
And they did
Fuck me, right?
A 30-minute span of the fight ending.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Class act deserves, a fight against someone almost like a title contender or.
That's what I was going to say. Like, whoever Nikita fights next is basically a title contender fight. And if it's not a title contender fight, it's like a shelf holder or a placeholder for the next title contender.
Yeah, because, like, are they going to rerun Jan versus Magomed, or it just what are we gonna see in the future for that division? That's the
most like blended up and messed up division in the UFC, I think.
Bantamweight.
You think? Well, no. I mean, bantamweight is a killer's row. Like, there's just a lot of people in there. It is kind of a logjam. But as far as a division that has no rhyme or reason, light heavyweight.
Okay.
Just because, like bantamweight, at least it's like it's a logjam because of the amount of competition. Light heavyweight, it's like we have a handful of guys that are really good, and then we have a handful of guys that probably shouldn't be in the top 10. It's literally a blended, just like bag of fuck in light heavyweight.
Yeah.
No, you're right. It's interesting.
That's
Like
for sure.
I love light heavyweight, but there's a lot of random, like if we're going to see, like we were talking about, Bellator's bad at mismatching people. If we're going to see mismatches or like really quick finishes, I think oftentimes it's going to end up being light heavyweight and heavyweight for that matter. Because like your Jalton Almeidas are always going to kill a Parker Porter, and it's not fair because the division is shallow, and you'll get matchups like that.
Yeah.
And then you feel bad. We got one last night. Yeah.
Volkov.
Dude,
Kinda
100%. Moving into that fight. My God, dude, Volkov. He literally, my main note is Alexander Volkov came out with the y'all must have forgot vibes.
Yeah.
And he reminded everyone that he is still a threat in the heavyweight division. And also, I did put a note that his opponent, Alexander Romanov, will have to change his name to Frank. So Frank Romanov definitely lost the name in the Battle of the Alexanders. And Alexander Volkov versus Tai Tuivasa might be the fight to make. Frank Romanov, bro.
I can never look at that man again the same now, and you just ruined him for me.
I'm so happy about it. Every time you see him, you're going to look at your friends and you're going to be like, check out Frank Romanov up there on the scales, guy.
There's 0% chance I can call him anything other than that now. Oh, that's class. That's amazing. Yeah, but like even going into who he should fight next, who do you think?
I think he should fight Tai Tuivasa. Okay. Tai Tuivasa's coming off a pretty big loss. Alexander's coming off a pretty big win. They're both around that like top 5, top 10 region. I think honestly, Alexander Volkov is a big name. He's been in the UFC for a very long time. Another one of those guys that probably doesn't have a ton of tread left on the tires. But another one of those fighters that's gonna put the pedal to the metal till the tires fall off. So I'd like to see that fight. I think he's forever Frank. I agree. He is forever Frank Romanov.
Yeah, he is.
So yeah, I mean, let's hear it. Alexander Volkanov versus.
And I think he's ready. Correct me if I'm wrong on all that, but Tom Aspinall.
Oh, that was the other name I was gonna write down.
because
like we were just talking about, more or less in regards to Rikic, I think he deserves a fight that is still up there, but not title contention, just for the fact of coming off a serious injury. You know, and obviously,
but I mean that was his last win too. So you want to give him a rematch with Alexander Volkov that quick?
Yes, because
we don't know who we're gonna see.
Fair.
It makes sense in the rankings, and we've already now got a logjam because we got Stipe versus Jon, and then we got Pavlovich versus Blades.
I'm not mad at Blackado's recommendation.
Oh, I'm not either, but
Derek Lewis is now number 11. Possibly.
Even more. You know what? That's right. Volkov doesn't deserve a number 11 fight. I don't know if he'll want that fight at the risk of losing the rankings that he's earned. Hey, what's up, Ash? How we doing? So yeah, I mean, I don't know if he'll want to take that rematch just because, just like you said, like Derek Lewis is number 11 at this point. That would be fighting downward or punching downward. And even though he is one of the tallest guys or the tallest active fighter in the UFC, and punching downward is kind of what he does, I don't think he wants to punch down the rankings. So yeah, I mean, I like your bet there. Tom Aspinall, I think, would be a fun fight. And
I actually got one for
what's his name? For Derek Lewis.
And
okay, I thought you were going to say for a match for Frank.
No.
We're going to forget about him. Because I don't know. But, and I don't think they fought each other. No, they haven't. Okay, I was just looking at the history just in case. Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think that would be a fan favorite. That would be a fun one. They're close to each other in the rankings.
I like that fight, actually. Stylistically, I think Volkov beats him, but
it'd be
Romanov.
Fun. No,
not Romanov.
Not Volkov. I'm talking about Derek Lewis.
Oh, Derek Lewis versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Oh man, I don't know who wins, but someone goes to sleep. That's for sure.
Exactly. And guess what? Fans love that.
Oh yeah, I mean, win, lose, or draw, Derek Lewis is coming in with hot balls, and it's going to be a good time.
And you also
that's a fun fight.
Thing. In the wise words of John Kavanaugh, Jesus loves knockouts.
Jesus does love knockouts. I agree. And I'll tell you what, I've never heard Jesus disagree. So I think that's a good fight for Derek Lewis. I think, do that. And again, I'm sticking with it. I'm saying Alexander Volkov versus, I think either one of our picks would be a money pick. Tom Aspinall or Tai Tuivasa. I think either one of those would be a lot of fun if Ty's recovery lines up with it. Or sorry, Tom's recovery lines up with it. It makes sense to have that fight. And I mean, that's a tough ask of Tom to come back though, because that would be, I mean, he's already beat him. And now they're saying like, hey, can you beat him after coming back after a layoff and injury? And after one of Volkov's better performances. So we'll see. But yeah, I think either one of those fights would deliver for the fans. And then moving into the main event, we had Merab Dvalishvili, the machine, putting an absolute whooping on Petr Yan, pushing Yan to 1-4 in his last 5 fights. His only win, Petr Yan's only win over an opponent coming off of a win was over a 40-year-old Uriah Faber. And his best win was literally over, again, people coming off losses, people who are no longer in the UFC, etc. I'm saying it's probably time for Petr Yan to switch camps. I think he needs a change of pace, a change of teams, and realistically to kind of find himself and reignite that spark for fighting. I don't know if it's like when you break a mirror, you get 7 years of bad luck, but I think kneeing the head of a grounded opponent and then making jokes about it in your next fight is at least 7 fights of bad luck. That appears to be the case. So, I mean,
actually, Aldo wasn't coming off of a loss in that title shot, was he?
He was. He was.
Alrighty then.
Bro, I did the footwork.
Okay. It was, but it wasn't because it was the Moraes fight. Okay, now I just look back. Okay.
Right, but I mean, still, like, statistically, he has one win over an opponent coming off of a win, and that was over a 40-year-old Uriah Faber. And I went back and rewatched that fight, and I don't care who you are, Uriah Faber was landing shots on him. And I don't want to say he was winning that fight, but I will say that fight was a close fight up until he got finished.
And another fight of his that I was actually at live was his fight against Jimmy Rivera. That was a banger as well.
Oh, that was a banger of a fight.
Yeah.
Jimmy Rivera, what happened to that guy? Can we put him on a milk carton? He's missing.
Isn't he in PFL?
Oh, that's where he is. He's in PFL. Just kidding. You can take him off the milk carton. I think he is in PFL.
No, I lied. He's bare knuckle.
That's where he went. Yes, Jimmy the Terror Rivera, bare knuckle phenom. That's a good fit for him.
I forgot.
Chad Mendez in bare knuckle is terrifying. My God, but that's another story for another episode.
USADA.
Dude, rumor has it USADA has tried to test him 3 times since he joined BKFC, but the piss melted the cup all 3 times. So moving into Merab, I think there's only 2 real options for him, and one of them is going to say no, and one of them he's not going to agree to fight. So I don't really know who to pair him up against. But the 2 names I have are Sugar Sean O'Malley, who's not going to take that fight, and Aljamain Sterling. And neither of them are going to take that fight because they're best buddies and training partners. I think Merab beats both of those guys pretty handily.
I think that he should fight Sean, but as Sean has literally just said before this fight,
he's just going to wait.
I'm going to wait for the title shot that I was promised. Which, fair play to him, right? Because they did. If
you're my boss and you promise me a raise, I'm not working until I get the raise. Especially if it was supposed to happen last week.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, I mean, let's call a spade here. Like it's a logjam. We're at it. Like it is as we speak.
Yeah.
The other thing I could see, and you might freak out on me for this one, is the winner of Cheeto and Corey.
Again with this shit.
Hold up, hear me out. I didn't even know we were allowed to.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ian Juice Miller. It was great having him on the show. I'm just kidding.
Honestly, I thought I messed something up on the editing. But hear me out. He said he's willing to fight other people. He's not even looking for the title right now until he goes up. So, like we said, loser of that gets Umar. Winner of that gets the Machine.
Okay.
Because, like he said, he still wants to fight. He said, "Feed me." Anyone who wants to fight. Who wants to fight more than Cheeto? That dude lives to fight.
Cheeto is the only striker, and this might be something that gets clipped and aged very badly. Cheeto Vera is the only striker that I can see in the entire division that beats Merab. Because he's like a Chuck Liddell. Like, the wrestlers he can beat doesn't make any sense. He has this innate ability to kind of like ignore your wrestling capabilities or your footwork capabilities and just set up a knockout shot on you. Dude got an up kick knockout when he was on the Ultimate Fighter Latin America. And that's one of the, like, that clip goes harder than probably any clip I've ever seen of someone on the bottom. Like,
yeah, his reads are very nice.
That's what I'm saying. Like, his ability to make a read in a situation, like, I'm not like the biggest football guy, but his ability to make reads is like a Drew Brees or a Tom Brady in the pocket. Like, when he's got a ton of defenders coming in and he's just able to be like, oh, cool, there's my guy. I'm going to hit it right there. Or like a Michael Jordan, fan, right? Like, it's wild.
As a big football fan, that was a great analogy. So you're all good on that.
Let's go. Yeah, I mean, like, his ability to make reads in those clutch moments, that's what separates a legend or a champion from a contender.
Yeah. No, it separates the men from the boys, right?
That's why I want to see Cheeto get his fucking title shot, dude. Like, I think Cheeto he's terrifying for the division.
He's not getting it.
He's not.
Yeah.
I hate that, dude. I hate that. I feel like he's one of the dark horses of the division, and he's been kind of shit on enough. It's funny that he lost that decision to Jose Aldo, because, like, man, this, like, the reason that MMA math doesn't work is because of fights like that.
It's just it's such a weird situation that I feel like we haven't had in a long time, that it's just like, we gotta stop and smell the roses, because this is an awesome situation for us as fans to have.
Oh, facts.
So let's just sit back and smell the roses and enjoy this. Because when are we going to get something like this again?
I will tell you this, and this is going to be like this is a long term down the line fight. I could see a trilogy happening in like a year and a half, depending on how their wins and losses go for Cheeto Vera and Davey Grant. They're 1-1 over each other right now, and that's such a fun fight.
If that fight ever happens, I swear I will be either there or front row on my couch.
Oh, dude. It's such a banger. Both times they fought was fun, dude.
They're both very fun fighters.
Drew with the video game commentary. He's looking like Tom Brady out there. John Anik in the game is hilarious. Speaking of which, for those of you that do enjoy EA UFC games, I think they're making the newest one right now.
Yeah,
because DC mentioned that he mentioned in a podcast recently that he was busy all week last week. This was like last week, so the week prior to last week, doing recording new voiceover work for EA UFC.
Yeah,
he didn't say a number, so.
And the thing too is, you know, what do you call it? The person who I know that plays that game more than anyone, Aiden Ingram, he is all on that, and he even told me that he's been reading about it being in production. Obviously, let's not get our hopes up, because EA Sports will EA Sports it. But yeah. But
the good news is I will say, like, I've beta tested every one of the EA Sports UFC games since part 1. They always give me like early access, and I will say that they have implemented at least one of the like long feedback forum posts that I send them in the next game or within the next game. So definitely super excited to see that game come out. And let's see, JJ Smoke. I'm looking forward to the next UFC game. I hope it's not bad. The thing is, whether it's bad, good, or in between, it'll be an improvement on the last one, which is typically the case. We hope. I would actually like them to bring back some of the like crazy ragdoll knockout effects or mechanics that they had. I think it was in EA UFC 2. Because some of those were a lot of fun when you get those flash knockouts. And some people do fall like that in real life. And it's it definitely makes you like jump off the couch. Yeah.
They have to work on the ground.
The ground game is what needs the most improvement.
Because no elbows on the ground is a little weird to me.
So you can throw elbows, but it's super weird. Like there are some positions where you can throw elbows, which I think you should be able to throw elbows from half guard, from full guard, from just about any position you can throw elbows in real life. So they should implement a way to do that in the game. I did like the way that they changed uppercuts and things like that in this game versus the last game, because it shouldn't be as easy for me to throw an uppercut in a game as it is for me to throw a jab. Because in real life, it's harder for me to throw an uppercut than it is for me to throw a jab. It's same to land them. So I like that they make certain things harder to do. I do really miss some of the old mechanics. Dude, you're not lying, dude. They put Brendan Schaub's custom KO animation in the game. I think it was in EA2, where like, remember, who knocked him out? He got knocked out, and he literally was like, from the bottom. They added that in the game. It's so good. It's so good.
That's messed up.
Yeah, okay, thank you, JJ Smoke. Only side control, side saddle, and crucifix you can throw elbows. And bottom full guard.
Exactly, but you see,
and bottom full guard, you can only throw elbows with certain people. Like Tony Ferguson can do it, Carlos Condit can do it, which makes sense because like those guys are freaking elbow machines. But come on, bro. Like I trained, I never fought professionally. I could throw elbows from the bottom. I could throw elbows from the top. Like I could teach people how to throw elbows from a lot of positions. So why can't this creative fighter throw elbows from every position?
Exactly. So I don't know. That's the feedback. I don't play the game much, I'll be honest. But from the people that I know that religiously play it, that was their biggest concern, was the ground mechanics, and specifically that one as the biggest.
You want to hear my biggest complaint?
I love it.
And this is something I've been asking for since EA UFC 1, since before that game released, when they released the beta. I'm very, very big on a handful of things, right? One, I'm a big Captain America fan. Those of you who know me definitely know that. Like, huge Captain America fan, all the way to the point to where I have a tattoo of the shield right here on my arm. And one of the things that I'm a huge, huge fan of in these types of games where you get to create yourself in the game, go through a career mode, is making myself in the game and creating my tattoos. I've created my Superman tattoo out of like 30 layers of blocks. I created the Superman S, all that stuff. The diamond in the background of it. I've created my V for Vendetta tattoo that I have on the back of my leg on the game. And the one that gives me the hardest time in all of these games is the Captain America shield. Shouldn't be that hard. It's just a handful of circles and a star. Why is it so hard? Well, it's hard because they don't have a white circle option. They have a black circle line that's clear on the inside, but no white circle option. So what I've had to do is I think I did like 62 different layers of ovals that I put together to make a circle, and then leave a blank space, and then make another circle. And like, it's such an easy fix. And I've asked for it numerous times. Give me a white circle, EA Sports.
Other video games have implemented this, where you can scan
the picture.
Tattoos in.
No, you can scan.
Yeah.
Like 2K Sports,
You can scan.
That's what I'm saying. Like that, I would love to have that in the game. That'd be sick.
That would actually mean
you don't have to care about making a good game.
Fair. I mean, I think EA does care, but I think that what happens is they're
look what they did with Madden.
I don't want to hear it.
I think that they pick and choose their battles, and I do think that they have some employees that care more than others. I will tell you that their Madden team is probably the weakest team that they have. Their EA team that works on the UFC games, a lot of the guys and girls that work there are very passionate, and they do try and implement certain things. I agree with JJ Smoke here 110%. I would love to see stuff from the old games like doctor stoppages. If we could get doctor stoppages, or even like a doctor coming in to check on a cut, that'd be sick. That would be so sick. Also, like some of the cuts and animations that we had from Undisputed 3 are still superior. And I remember playing that game like until my controllers would fall apart from playing that game. That game was fantastic. Drew with the great reference to Without a Paddle. I had a brownie once. If you haven't seen that movie, fantastic movie. Throwback. Might be before some of your time. Yeah, EA Sports UFC, again, think it's a lot of fun. I would love it if they did the 2K Sports, like scan your tattoo thing, because I'm not a big basketball guy, not a big 2K Sports guy, but I typically get those games with Game Pass whenever they come on there, and I always end up creating a character for funsies, and it's way easier when I can just create and add a tattoo onto a character from scanning it. I actually used that thing a couple times, and it was fantastic. Another thing I missed from EA that they did away with this last game specifically is Game Face. What happened, EA Sports? Come on.
Once again, that would mean they would have to try.
But like, you already have it. Why? Like, just put it in the game again.
That means they would have to try. I literally have this conversation with Aiden on a daily basis, like, of how disappointing they are, and I wish that 2K picked up the UFC game.
I mean, dude, yeah, there's a lot of things they could do better. There's also a lot of things they could do worse. Like, you know, a lot of games don't add roster updates after they release. They do a pretty good job about that. But again, the EA Game Face thing made the game layers and layers more fun. Like when EA2 came out, I created Captain America and Tony Stark in there. We had Civil War. You know what I'm saying? I created John Wick in the game. Was so sick. I literally would get pictures of Keanu Reeves, scan it to EA Game Face, and then create him based on like how that fighter would fight.
Which is coming out in 2 weeks, I believe.
Which is coming out. Dude, Mary had never seen a single John Wick movie, and her brother's birthday is at the end of the month. So shout out, Isho. Happy birthday. Let's go. And shout out for, you know, making one of your asks to go and see the new John Wick movie, because Mary had never seen a John Wick movie, and now we are 2 in. We watched one yesterday and one the day before.
Actually, it's funny you brought that up because we have something like that going on this week at ours. So everyone in our house is a big Ted Lasso fan, and the new season
love Ted
comes out
Lasso.
on Wednesday. New season starts on Wednesday. Sorry.
Yep.
And my fiance's never watched it, and she'll only watch it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes at a time. She'll be like, "Oh, I don't like this show." So we've made her that when she comes back today from this bridal expo she's going with, she has to watch the first season at least, and then we'll get her on season 2. Don't worry, that'll work.
Oh,
that'll
dude,
work
you've got to keep me posted on how that goes.
Yeah, so we're working on that as of now. It's just reminding me of that, so it was funny.
I seriously am considering going for Halloween as either Roy Kent or Roy Jones Jr. Too much combat sports on the brain. Roy Kent or Ted Lasso. I feel like
shirt.
Be too easy.
I literally, my roommate bought me a shirt that says, "He's here, he's there, he's every fucking where." And at the bottom it says Roy Kent and it's his face.
Dude, I've never watched soccer in my life up until like recent weeks when Ariel Hawani kept talking about Nottingham Forest, and I was like, you know, I'll check out a Nottingham Forest game. And now I'm like 7 games in. I like Nottingham Forest. Great team to cheer for. They don't always win, but a lot of fun stuff. They're kind of like the team from fucking Ted Lasso. They're not the best team in the world, but AFC Richmond, you know, like they're not the best team in the world, but they've got a lot of great personalities on there and a lot of guys that seem like good people to cheer for.
So I'm a big soccer fan myself.
Okay.
A big Manchester United fan.
Oh, fuck.
If you have Amazon Prime, there's actually a fantastic show. It's called All In.
Okay.
They do it on, so they basically like follow the team, give you like insight on the personalities of it, and they have multiple seasons for soccer first and foremost. So you should watch the Manchester City one. It's fantastic. They follow multiple teams. They have one. They do the NFL. They have like all these different ones. They even did one on the All Blacks, the rugby team. Okay. So yeah, it's a fantastic show. But yeah, it's kind of like that show. It kind of gets you into the team.
And like that's the thing. Like I like rooting for an underdog. The story that like, you know, Hawani basically told is these guys were not a Premier League team. They fought their way up through relegation. They got into Premier League, and now they're playing against teams that are much better than them. Bro, like Man City is one of the best teams in Premier League, right?
Yeah. It shows how they
tied
got built.
them. We fucking got a draw with them 2 weeks ago. That's sick. Our team sucks compared to Man City. I'm waking up at 6 a.m. and watching it, and I'm like cheering at fucking like 6 and 7 a.m. So that like it's fun. It's different. And like Mary says, it's not like fighting to where, you know, when something crazy happens, I'm cheering so loud I'm scaring all 3 of the cats. So, it's really fun to watch. But that being said, I've never been a soccer fan. I watched Ted Lasso and binged the entire season, or 2 seasons after we watched the first episode. And huge fan of that show, man. Honestly, one of my favorite shows I've watched in recent years. And I even downloaded the newer FIFA game. And dude, AFC Richmond is in the game. Every single person from the show.
I bought it. Don't worry,
dude. Let's play. Is it cross-platform? If it's cross-platform, we should play a game online. I'd probably get wrecked, but I'm down.
But I'm not sure, actually, to be honest with you.
We'll have to check. We'll have to check after this. And if it is, we will definitely have to get a game in or 2 online. I'll probably get wrecked, like I said. Not that great at it, but it's a lot of fun. But my career mode, the reason I brought it up is Roy Kent. He's here, he's there, he's every fucking where. Love that guy. He's literally my favorite character in the show, dude. He's so good. And he's Marvel's Hercules.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, big fan of the Hercules comics that Marvel did probably like 10 years ago now, where it was kind of like a buddy cop thing with him and Gilgamesh. It was such a good series, dude. So much fun. Basically him just being like an ex-drunk god that gets everything handed to him, and he's like, well, now I should probably put in some work and be a hero, make people like me again. Really, really good stuff. And now at this point, we're just completely off topic, having a good time. But again, we appreciate you guys coming. We won't bore you to death and go on and on and on. JJ Smoke did ask a question before we go, though. What did you guys think about the Martinez versus Nurmagomedov decision? I agreed. I thought it was a very, very good decision. I thought Martinez did exactly enough to win that fight. I thought he was a step ahead of Nurmagomedov on the striking. And when it came to the grappling, he stayed just far enough ahead to not get finished, not give up the tap, and edge out at a squeaky decision win.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I 100% I just agree with you. I got no words other than that.
Love it.
And also, follow up on something we talked about earlier. Countdown comes out tonight at 9 p.m.
Oh, nice. So we will definitely be watching Countdown. Also, not sure if you saw in the previous episodes me talking about this, Ian. I will be doing a follow-up kind of recap show once Tough starts the new season with McGregor and Chandler. So I'll probably be having different co-hosts on for that. You'll probably see Ian pop up. You'll probably see Drew pop up over there. Mystic Drew, as we call him sometimes. And you'll definitely see Jive Turkey Nano, probably T-Piz taking the piz, making some crazy picks. And until then, I'll let you know what day and time we're going to be doing that. I would assume we're probably going to be doing it right after the episodes on the Wednesday, like within like 10 to 15 minutes of the episodes wrapping. So if you're interested in jumping on an episode of that with me, shoot me a DM on Twitter, Instagram. Even if you're just, one of the fans that's never been on the show, shoot me a message on Twitter. Would love to link up with you, get you featured on the show. Ian, thank you for coming on the show today. As always, appreciate chatting with you. Those of you who aren't already following Ian, go ahead and shout out your ats on social media. That way folks can give you a follow.
Yeah, on Instagram, it's at, Jesus, I almost forgot mine for a second, at juice.mma. On Twitter, I have to pull that up because I haven't used that in a minute. It's juice135MMA. And then, that's pretty much it. That's usually the platforms I'm on. But mostly Instagram, so give me a follow on there, and love to give you a follow back and interact with everybody.
Let's go. And Ian is a fighter. He is a mixed martial artist himself. Make sure you support your local mixed martial arts fighters, and drop him a follow on Instagram, on Twitter. He's not super active on Twitter, but we're going to change that. We're going to get him more active on Twitter. We just need to get him some follows up there, guys. Juice. That's his name. Don't wear it out, guys. So Ian Juice Miller, we appreciate you again being here. Thanks to all you fans for dropping by, and we will see you probably same time, same place next week, as well as an episode on Wednesday or Thursday going over this next upcoming pay-per-view. We have a banger of a card. You know what I'm talking about. Mr. Boom, Headshot Dead himself, Leon Edwards, coming back to hopefully hold it down against Kamaruddin Usman, a.k.a. Marty from Nebraska himself. Let's see how it turns out, boys and girls. Either way, I know I'm excited about it, and we will see you here to break down how we see that going, as well as our Kinda Okay parlay for it next week, or I guess later this week. Thanks again, guys. Peace.